Well, a very good morning, good evening, good afternoon to you, wherever you might be in the world. I hope life is being kind to you. If you're a returning visitor to the channel, I want to say thank you very much. Welcome back. If you're new to the channel, welcome to you. I hope you'll find something of interest today, probably more so than any other day, and that's because I'll talk to you about it in a moment, but basically I'm a little bit challenged today. So I'm recording this kind of really late in the day for a Sunday to put it up. But anyway, it's been a big day. I imagine most people are struggling with some of the things that I am too. I'll talk to that in a moment. But just a reminder, if you're new to the channel, I do put timing chapters into the description of the video so you can jump to the parts of the video that are of interest to you. So I've bought my Ammonite. I'll show you it in a little while. That's further down the track. But before I get into the content today, just a reminder, by the way, that if you give me a thumbs up or write a question or respond to me or even talk to me, that helps to keep my mojo up and to keep me going, especially when I'm feeling a little bit extended like what I am today, and in fact all of this week. So let's talk about, if you don't mind, I'm going to share with you. I've been making jokes even before today that this week I've been feeling a little bit sad, okay, as in seasonal affective disorder. Of course, I don't have it. That's something they get in Europe because they get so little sunlight, I guess, and they end up with vitamin D deficiencies. But here in Perth, Western Australia, we make jokes about it that, we just don't have weather like this normally. I say that, but I went and checked the weather, the Bureau of Meteorology, and established that, we're just at that time of the year. We have certain times of the year where we really do experience what we consider to be a pretty full, harsh winter weather type environment, which will probably make people, say, from Canada laugh, but truly it is a bit difficult for those of us that are used to being around sunshine, and I've spent most of my life around the sun. So where I'm going with this is, we have had so much rain. I have expected Noah's Ark to go floating past the front of my house. It's just been so intense. And I think I always struggle with it more when we don't see blue skies. And to be quite honest, I think, because I think a lot when I'm, having a bit of a sad moment, I think part of the problem is because I've spent so much time in the warm environments that a little bit of rain, a little, well, it's not, I don't call it little. If I look out my window right now, it's just black clouds everywhere. But when we have this weather and if I can't see the blue sky, I start to feel like I'm suffocating a bit. And there's something reflexively that when the weather is bad, and I say it's bad, but not by some people's standards, I just hunker down. I just don't even go outside. I'm lucky to spend time outside. And for you, to give you a bit of an idea about this, it does happen probably once a year that we have this intensity of rainfall with the strong winds and that. It doesn't last a long time, thankfully. But I think they've done something wrong with the weather reports, because I went and checked this. We've had 51, according to the weather, millimetres of rain in 4 days. And I know that there'll be people all around the world, if they're listening, that will actually be rolling on the floor to this. But for me, I'm like, no, that can't be right, because I actually have a candle holder on the front veranda that gets filtered rain. Not intention, it's just that I had a tea light candle out there and I didn't bring the candle holder back in. Anyway, long story short with that as well, that has been filled up and overflowing, and that would be about 5 centimetres high. So suffice to say, I've been a bit challenged this week. But that's okay, because in between locking myself up in the house and not being as productive as I would like to be, I've had plenty of time for reflection, and that's largely because I'm looking at the content on the website, and it kind of takes me back a bit. So I thought I would share a story with you because I remembered this one today. And I was living in Kalgoorlie. It was probably about 2002. And it was at a time when I was actually doing quarantine inspection. So, it's an arm or a branch of law enforcement here in Western Australia. But the reason why I mention that is because my girlfriend, and I say girlfriend as in my best buddy, was an Aboriginal lady, and she was actually a police officer. And so people would assume that, I guess, that we weren't spiritual, because that's not the face that we show the world. That was kept very separate from our actual work responsibilities. But either way, I'm mentioning her race because she had very distinctive features, and she clearly was an Aboriginal. And anyway, where I'm going with this is I'm trying to actually move away from the race part to talk about the interconnectedness bit, which was what I was reflecting on today. She gave me a beautiful story way back then, and I think thinking about the race part was probably because I was having a conversation with her. And I'm going to mention it here because I know some people say that it can't be true that when we look at a person, we don't see their skin color or we don't notice their cultural features and that. Whereas I can say, look, I've always been one of those that shrugs my shoulders and goes, I don't see it. You know what I mean? Like, as far as I'm concerned, I'm interested in the people. What they look like is actually totally irrelevant. But I think if I was totally honest now, because a few years have gone by, that there must be that part of me that does notice it, but it doesn't react to that. Instead, it just becomes part of the awareness that there will be a cultural difference between us, because they do things differently to perhaps people of my background. Anyway, the reason I'm really talking about this is because she hadn't been exposed to her cultural background, and the nature of the conversation, which I'll give to you in a moment, would indicate to me it must have been around about the time frame I was somewhere with her. And she did experience racism. People would give her a wide berth if she wasn't wearing her uniform. They didn't realise that she actually was a powerful woman. They were actually really quite horrendous. And I found that, I've got to be honest, I found that very stark back then, and I still do, that we can judge and treat people completely differently and even unkindly based on the way that they look. Anyway, the story that she gave me, right? This was why I've got this particular slide on there, was we used to have the most beautiful evening night skies in Kalgoorlie. On a clear night, you would see this kind of imagery. You get to see the Milky Way and you get to see all the stars in the sky. And I know this particular day we were both very whimsical, if you like. We're looking out at the night sky and making comments about, what is the meaning of life? We're very early in our development, I guess you could say. What's it all about? What does divine mean? What does energy feels like? They're really big questions we were asking ourselves, and just chatting between ourselves about. Anyway, what she said to me was, in her viewpoint, that she believed that within each one of us, and I'd not heard about the Namaste or the divine spark at this time. She said, I happen to feel, she said, that within each of us there's like a little tiny light, like what these stars in the skies are. She said, and oops, there's my dog. I had to pause and make my dog quiet. Anyway, look, I'll hurry this up and just say, sorry if your eardrums got busted then. But anyway, the point she was making was that in her view of contemplation and reflection and just thinking about things, was that we on the planet walking around, that we all have a little spark within each other. And that spark is that we're connected by some thread. She said, I don't know what that looks like, but there's a part of us that links into a bigger light that we're all part of, she said. And what happens to one happens to another. I'm trying to remember now, the dog's thrown me right off. Just basically the interconnectedness. I'm looking back at my notes here. It's really, I think, difficult to write down your own anecdotal stories, but I guess the bottom line is that we're all one little dot. We're all one speck in the night sky, and we're all shining our own little light. And the thing is that, obviously we get falling stars and that kind of thing, but she said in her mind, that's a star that's falling back to Earth to be reborn as another human being. Anyway, so I just found that to be an interesting story, this great big web and maze. And in fact, I think a lot of people, this was before the Matrix, just so that you know. After the Matrix, I think a lot of people think like that as well. And I am talking about the movie. But this was well before then. So I am leading somewhere with these recollections and reminiscences, okay? And the other little story that came back to me today, actually, as I was preparing to do the video, was the idea of the butterfly effect. Now, it's very popular today. Most people have heard of it. If you haven't heard of it, it's basically saying, with the flutter of a butterfly's wing, it can change. It has a ripple effect that goes across oceans and potentially create a tornado somewhere else. But most of the time, it's referred to, I guess, by people that are trying to create positivity as being one small thing can make a huge difference around the world, which obviously I agree with. And that is that, there's consequences to all actions and choices that we make. And, sometimes we don't realize the far reaching influences and impacts of our decisions. And actions and inactions, they are all decisions, whether they're conscious decisions or subconscious decisions not to act. They're all going to have an impact on other people. So for many of us, we call that karma, and I think from where I sit as well, there's that whole business of, I would rather not act than to harm a person. I don't think at the end of the day that any of us, by the time we reach a certain age, can say, well, I've never hurt anybody and I've never done anything, because sometimes we can actually hurt people through the best of intentions. And life is about growth and learning, and we all get hurt at different times. And I'm talking about emotionally hurt, and other times we might be the person doing the hurting, but there's going to be people affected. So I think most of us would try to avoid hurting people where possible. Anyway, I think aside from the seasonal stuff, the rain, with me being a little bit upset about the rain and the weather patterns, I actually am also upset by the news today. Okay, so I don't even want to mention it here because I want to put the focus on the positive, but definitely the news has disturbed me today, and I'm struggling personally to keep my energy high and to keep motivated. I just think whether we're the stars in the sky or whatever, it would just be nice if people realise that when we hurt one person, that we actually hurt ourselves, and it's going to come back at us one way or another. And so I think my energy is just off kilter at the moment, but I'm going to actually, the reason why I'm saying this to you is not because I want to whinge and complain, but because I recognise we are at a space in the world today where many of us are feeling unsettled, and there is strategy and technique that we can do to manage that. Anyway, I'll get straight into why, okay, and how I'm going to manage it. I have decided that what I'm going to do is take responsibility for my own energy levels, whatever is happening on throughout the world, okay? I can't control that. All I can do is control my response and how I feel emotionally, and to try and keep my own personality upbeat, if you like. So what that means is I'm going to have to put more time and energy into balancing and aligning my aura, my chakras. I may have to, if I find myself getting a little bit too deep and thinking too hard about things and getting too disturbed and too sad, I'm going to have to purify my thoughts and really keep that focus on keeping my aura light and bright, at least over the next few days. So basically what I'm going to have to keep doing over the next few days is really paying attention to my spiritual hygiene. Excuse me while I cough. Now, if you don't know what spiritual hygiene is, I've got a video dedicated to it, but it does include a visualization involving a shower, and I'm going to have to do a lot of that flushing over the next couple of days. Just the fact that I haven't loaded this information on the website yet actually is just another, little straw over the camel's back kind of thing. I'm cross at myself that I haven't put it up there, but it is on video, so I'll put the link in the description for those people that want to explore it, because I do find it to be very effective. There's also a chakra balancing video. I will put the links up in the description for that as well. They're a bit old now, but they're still effective. I might talk about that another day, but I will put the links up for those people that are struggling to maintain a positive, light and bright approach to life in the face of all the challenges we're seeing right now across the world. So as far as the website developments and improvements are going, well, like I said, my energies have been low this week. I've found it's quite difficult to retain my focus and concentration. So my work has been a little bit inconsistent. Hopefully I'll get back on track over the next couple of days, get my mojo back, and you're going to see the developments occurring. With a bit of luck, I might be finished by tonight, at least one of the pages on meditation. I'm working on some content for creative visualizations, but hopefully, yeah, you'll see it soon. Sadly, I actually haven't finished this stuff, so that's a little bit disappointing for me, at least, if not you. So it's still pending, okay? It's coming soon. As are these pages. Now, I thought that I had done the content on the website for sacred breathing, but I think I didn't, because I think what I did in between times was I actually overhauled one of the videos that I'd done way back at the beginning of time and loaded that on how to do the sacred breath, just to make it a little bit more, I guess, for here and now kind of stuff. So anyway, yeah, this content is still pending. I am so sorry it's taken me this long. So just a reminder that we do have the community event coming up on the second Wednesday of every month, which I think is about July the 11th this month. I can't remember. But anyway, you can go and get tickets. Remember, it is a free event. If you're local to the Mount Lawley area, or you're going to be in the area on that date, then you're welcome to come along. It's a free event, like I said. You can actually make donations for the coffee. I do take along coffee and tea. That's up to you. It's at your discretion. But yeah, please book in so that I can make sure I've got the seats there for you. So as far as the Crystal Magic playlist goes, just an update there. You may have noticed, if you're into it, that I actually deviated again from the program. I changed the order of it, and that was because I realised, I had some realisations that if I was going to talk about watermelon tourmaline, I probably needed to talk about pink and green first. But before we have a look at the videos that have been loaded and what's coming up, I just wanted to share with you, my Ammonite has arrived. So I've taken a couple of photographs here to give you a bit of an idea. Okay, now I'm fairly confident that this is authentic. I'll explain to you why with some of these photos for those people that are interested. In the first instance, it is normal for ammonites to actually have flaws, and things like with the image on the right hand side, if you take a good look at that, you can see that there's actually like pockets of dirt in there which have been cut through. So that's really grainy stuff, grainy sandy stuff. It's very delicate. I have to admit I'm a little concerned about breaking it. But anyway, so genuine ammonite from Madagascar is the source. What I've worked out through looking at things is that it must be very expensive to actually export anything from Madagascar to Australia, the freight fees and that kind of thing. So what I've observed is a lot of the stuff from Madagascar is actually going through to third parties in China who are distributing it. Anyway, the other thing I want to make the point of was actually just the colouring here. You can see it's got those really beautiful, are they called sacks? I can't remember. Compartments, wheels, whatever. Anyway, I'll show you the next photo. So the point of showing you these photos was actually just another way. So the image on the right, you can sort of see those pockets from a different direction. You actually can't see very clearly on any of these photos that there are very fragile cracks in it, because obviously it is pretty old. So those little cracks, they worry me a little bit that it might break easily, but I'm going to take care of it so it won't. The middle photograph, that shows the top of it. So you can see there's the slice there. I'm hoping that's what you can see. You might want to put a pause on that and have a look at it. But the image on the left is actually the one that I really wanted to show you. And this is part of understanding this is genuine. And I'm quite happy to have it with this. Well, I wouldn't say super stoked. But to me, I didn't pay a lot for this Ammonite, okay? It's still going to achieve the metaphysical desired outcomes that I would like for it. But anyway, what happens with the fakes is quite often they will plaster that area. Where you see in the image on the left, you've got a dirty mark now or flat, right? That's not actually the natural shape of the Ammonite. If you do some more Googling, you'll see that it was kind of like a snail shell or whatever. There's a bit of ribbing that is actually below that dirty bit. So it's been packed is where I'm going. It's like a mud pack. It's been packed with mud. And that's part of securing this because it is a delicate and fragile Ammonite, particularly this one. Not all of them will be this fragile, but to me, I see that this work has been done to the Ammonite to actually stabilise it and protect it from breaking. Now, I could be wrong with this, by the way. The other thing that it might be is that they just haven't dug it out when they have got the Ammonite out of the whatever fossil that they found it in. They may have actually just left that bit there rather than risk breaking it. So if you know about, if you're a geo or something like that, you could perhaps clarify, has that mud been pushed into the actual external of the Ammonite, or is that just left in its pristine state, basically, or as close to it? Speaking of the state, of course, yes, the Ammonite has been polished. So as I said, because I had told you last week, if you watched the video, that I would do watermelon tourmaline, and that was the full intention, I actually changed my mind. So what you will have seen is that pink tourmaline was loaded this week, as was green tourmaline. And I've got to say, looking at the attributes of green tourmaline, I actually am really tempted. I think I would love to have a piece of that in my collection. And reading the feedback, somebody made a comment, if you want to go and have a look at that, somebody uses it and wears it and has it set in gold, which I think just sounds absolutely fabulous. That would encourage me to actually want to go and buy one. So next week, the intention is that I load the video on watermelon tourmaline on Tuesday, but be aware, I may actually change that around. The other thing is too, I will most likely change the image that I've got on here, and this is because I have a sneaking suspicion that what I have as the primary sample, shall we say here, I have a feeling that that's actually fake watermelon tourmaline. And I just don't think they're good images anyway. So I'll replace the image and hopefully you'll get it on Tuesday. If you don't get it on Tuesday, you will get it on Thursday. The other video that is going up next week is Bumblebee Jasper. Now, I've actually done more of the transcript on the Bumblebee Jasper than I have done on the watermelon tourmaline. And this is because I've actually decided I really, really like Bumblebee Jasper. In fact, I like it so much now that I have ordered myself some, certainly not to this quality. I am probably going to change this image as well because I have a few concerns about the central figure here as well. If it is not a fake, I wonder, I'm questioning if the photograph has been color enhanced, because I need to look at a few more images of them, I think, before I would feel comfortable with that. But at the same time, if you have used Bumblebee Jasper, if you're close to it, and apparently it only comes out of Indonesia, I would love to hear people's thoughts or experiences on it. The circles I thought were a bit of a giveaway that it was fake, but yeah, I'm not so sure now. Anyway, we might have to talk about that, but I've got some coming anyway. I looked at it early today and I saw it's in transit, so it's not far away. I'll let you see mine when I've got it. So, my friends, because this has been a bit of a long type video today, I'm actually just going to call it a day now and say, look, thank you for being part of my journey. Stay light, stay bright. Sending you much love, light, blessings, whatever, and I will get this content up as soon as I can. Take care, stay blessed, be safe. Bye-bye for now.